A woman is a beautiful species. She is phenomenal, to say the least, and I will be proving that in this poem. With lips reaching far and wide, a smile spoken, unbroken by tide, slender silhouette left for want of felt, vivaciously petite, with a gradual fill of my hips. I slide and glide, the most of my feet to abide. Standards and treasures for braggarts, you can look at all of it, but homie, you ain't gon' grind. I may be pretty, a tad bit too witty, but I'll be damned if the history of my kin fought for with such unseen pain, humiliation, tears of degradation. I'll be damned if I make merry all those lessons of dignity and respect my mama taught me, dissipate and disappear. All because he seems to fulfill lustful trills down my soft, supple, brown skin. And finally, he walks away with all my grain and leaves me with nothing but dirt, brown earth, clean, void, without life. I've met some, don't be fooled, a cluster, and then some, with sweet-spoken promises of joy, held my hand, they did, walked through my door, we did, surveyed and plowed, he did. But midway, I realized, I exclaimed, you can't walk away with all my stuff. He touched me. Oh, yes, he touched me. I refuse for you to brew your evil potion of use. I denounce the evil you seek to impart upon my livid soul. So beautiful, yes, of gold. It may not be crystal or christened in cloth white, but good God, it's mine. And I'll be damned if I let you walk away with all my stuff. Alas, beware, your worldly dares I cease to care. Against your claim to know me, a woman, homie, I place the strength from my kin. I'm not an object, fool. No, I'm a woman, a phenomenal woman, and I have feelings too. Thank you very much.
This is not another love story. This is one heart story. I knew she was different the first time we met. It's like her lips parted to confirm she had a dream, the kind of dream definition cannot touch, like a color bluer than red. I knew there was something about her. The first time I saved up money for 6 months to take her to Mombasa, and on the 6th month, she said to me, just take me for a walk. You need that money today. But make sure you plan to take me somewhere farther tomorrow. So the first time, her left hand found a way to hold the fingers on my right hand as we walked. I swore to myself she didn't need to love me the same way. I would give her my heart if she gave me one kidney. I wasn't perfect, but she said my voice was perfect. So my throat found sexiness without sinking deep enough to find bass. It was hard to convince my mind not to think about forever when my body was already imagining how it would feel like to have goosebumps flowing to the tip of my toes for the rest of my life. 2 weeks after she left me, she didn't break my heart. My heart was too surprised to break. At least not immediately. I had tattooed her life in my body. Those hot showers and scrubbing myself would not rub off her memory. Her voice was still a scar I couldn't trace on my skin. Forget the bruises her goodbye left me. If what we shared was true, it would have been enough to give her the strength to drag me through my blindness, because I swear I smelled weakness when she couldn't lift her phone to answer my calls, but I called her name anyway, even though it didn't slip through my tongue like it used to. Instead it moonwalked out as if to ask me, who's bad? told her friends she had found God, so she left me to avoid regression. I told her friends if she had asked me, I would have told her I had been seeking God, just not with my loudest voice. I admit the volume was louder when I was watching an actor kiss two girls in one movie. But if she had stayed last night, she would have seen me sacrifice my elbows for extra knees just to choke any remaining demons in me with God's hand. God knows. She came to me at a time when I was broken, but we had held me like the sky upholds the look of the stars. And this moment she held my hands was specks of magnificent in my life. Now, every red lipstick I see in the streets reminds me she left with all the bright colors of my smile. Now, I have closed every door and window to my soul. There's not even a small hole for my soul to peep through in case it can recognize a soulmate. Now, I'm just here, staring at love, afraid to love. Thank you.
So that was Mufasa, you were so brilliant! Woo! He takes you to a place whereby you can see actually, yes, there she is. There the street. Anyway, without further ado, what do you know about sexual slavery? I mean, what are the stories about it? So I am humbled to introduce to you a pastor, someone who has experienced this, and she's telling us a brief about her story. Round of applause to Pastor Rahab.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. My feet are killing me. May I remove?
Yes.
It feels so good, doesn't it?
I should hold my nose.
Oh, okay. It's the latest perfume. Yes, so tell us briefly about your experience and what leads you here, then we'll talk more.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me at Fatuma's Voice.
Humbled again.
I'm always humbled to be here. Great guys in the crowd. There's a lot of talent here, so I'm really humbled. I'm in the middle of greatness.
Hallelujah!
Who's Rahab? Rahab is a mother. She's a sister. Rahab is an auntie. Rahab is outgoing. Rahab is fun. But before all that, Rahab was a sex worker for 11 years, from the age of 14 to the age of 25. So I lived as a sex worker. I worked as a sex worker. I got raped as a sex worker. I got beaten up as a sex worker, insulted as a sex worker. And I think that is what has brought out the fun side about Rahab, because I went through so much trash and so much pain that I had to discover to love myself and be proud of who I am. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, most of us, just one experience and we give up on life. And just hearing your story is amazing. Not so many are brave enough to actually come on stage and say their experience. And what's amazing is this is what is going through the society. And many people are afraid if I say it, maybe they'll be shunned away. I don't know about you.
What really happens if I tell people if I was to go through this over again, I would go through it because there's something called destiny and purpose. Sometimes you have to go through the mess to get the message. Sometimes you have to go through the test to get a testimony. And I had to go through prostitution. I had to go through rape. I had to go through ostracization. I had to go through the abortions. I had to go through the mess to get a message and to be able to be accountable to someone. I know how it feels to be raped, not just once, not twice, but gang rape. That is mbele na nyuma. I know what it means for a bottle to be fixed inside me and get stitches down there, you know. So when someone comes to me and they've been raped, I can cry with them. I can give them a shoulder to cry with them. When someone comes and tells me they've been through pain, I can feel their pain. I can feel their bitterness. I can feel their unforgiveness, because at one point in life, I was there. And it's all ingrained in me now, because now I know it's about destiny. I had to go through all that because to be like Moses, a deliverer, because not many people are willing to talk about sex so openly. It's a taboo actually in Africa. So I'm the chosen few who had to go through it to be able to talk about it openly.
Wow. She had to go through mess to get the message. She had to be tested to give a testimony. Wow. And funny enough, how many of us carry so much scars and don't even tell our children, tell our partners, even going back to church, you know, will they ever take you back, you know?
I think the first part about life is accepting who you are. Once you accept who you are, then you can conquer any mountain ahead of you and you can bring it down. It's not about what people say. People will always speak whether you do good or bad. People will always speak whether you have a past or not. The best thing is to get to know, why were you born? Why were you created? You were created either to do poetry, to do art. I was created for sex. So I speak about sex. Yeah.
So she will be right back with that amazing story. Don't turn the dial, or is it turn on the dial? Wow! So a round of applause again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fatuma's voice. We are currently on stage with the lovely, the phenomenal Rahab, and we would like to get to know more about what she does on a day-to-day concerning what she just told us previously about sex slavery in Africa, in Kenya.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for having me. What do? I believe every person goes through a season to get a calling out of it. You go through poverty so that the day God blesses you with riches, you will be able to help the poor. You go through phases in life so that one day you'll be able to help people. I went through prostitution, so I came out of it successfully, though it was really hard. But I managed to have, I opened up an organization called Breaking Protocol, and under Breaking Protocol is something I call S3 Africa, where I work with sex workers, not just sex workers, but I educate and empower people in the society in Africa about sex, because that is a taboo in Africa and not many people are willing to talk about it. So under it, I talk about prostitution, I talk about masturbation, I talk about pornography, I talk about rape, anything to do with sex, I talk about it. And we also have, under it, we also have a mentorship class called Beyond Academia, because I believe there is life after school, and you need to discover why you were created. Sometimes it's not all about getting a degree. Sometimes it's not all about having money. It's about the peace, the inner peace. So that is why we do what we do.
Most of the girls you deal with on a day-to-day, what do they say, what do they tell you is the major cause of prostitution?
Ruth, it's amazing because it's not just ladies.
Even men?
Even men. Wow. And one thing I've realized is we think, when we talk about sex, we just think of the prostitutes. Actually, that is the minority. Many people, you and me, are having sex out there just the way, left, right, and center. So you find that it's not just about the sex workers. We are educating people on sex, how it all starts. And when you start, you will hear some people, they were introduced by cousins. The cousins came and they started flirting with them. For others, it's poverty. For others, it's fun. They think it's a thrill just to break their virginity. virginity to anyone. For others, it was in a span of a moment. They were drinking, partying, and then something just led to another, what we call one-night stands, and you don't even know who you slept with. You don't even have their number. So you find that we educate you so that when you come across that in your line of whatever you're doing, then at least you'll remember a lady called Rahab. You may never remember my name, but you'll remember there's a lady who spoke to you about sex. Yeah.
Okay, and you have also mentioned that it was very difficult to get out of it. Can you give us a sneak peek into the process?
It was difficult, Ruth, because one of the things is I was already addicted to sex. Number two, I was addicted to drugs. I used to use heroin. I used to use ecstasy. I used to use cocaine. I used to use weed. I used to use alcohol. I mean, anything to get me high. And what happened, and at times even morphine, you know, the morphine pills, you just take them just to numb yourself and everything. So you find that you cannot have sex with so many partners and be the same. There's something I teach called soul ties, whereby every time I have sex with someone, a bit of them is left in me and part of me lives with them. So you find that I was going through midlife crisis at a very tender age because I'd slept around with so many people, men and women, that I was all in one. They were all in me, and I'm just one person carrying all these personalities in me. So I wake up today and I want to masturbate. I wake up tomorrow and I'm suicidal. I wake up today and I want to give myself some shots or something. So you find that you don't really know who you are because you are so many people. You're just a dead girl walking or a dead man walking because you're so many people in one. Yeah.
So you just woke up one day and said, enough?
No, I knew. We used to be 10 chicks, and we all used to share men and women. And at some point, I knew I was going to die because they had started dying one by one. And at that particular time, I'd already gotten 2 children out of wedlock. I didn't even know. Like, for example, my son is from a married man. My daughter, I don't know who the father is. And I discovered that I had reached a point where I'd hit rock bottom because the younger you are in the industry, the more marketable you are. And I had gotten to a point I knew I was going to die. But how am I going to die? What will be the legacy left for Rahab? I knew my children will have it rough being told, you know, your mother was a hoe. You know, she was good for nothing. You'll also be a hoe like her. And I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to bring change to my generation. I wanted to be remembered for trying to talk about sex in Africa. Yeah, as much as it is. And not just talk about sex, but educate people, because we never get to be educated by our parents, because you will find that our parents are going through menopause, okay? We are going through midlife crisis, you know? And then we have our small sisters and brothers who are going through teenagehood. So by the time we're going through teenagehood, our parents don't understand because they're also trying to understand all these mood swings. Mara, they're feeling hot. Mara, they're feeling cold. Mara, they're sweating. And then here, my body is changing. I want to have sex. Why am I feeling pain? Why am I reacting this way? So we find that because our parents were not taught about menopause, something different, their body is changing. And they cannot teach their children about something. They cannot pass on the baton on something they don't know. For example, if I gave my child to Teardrops or to Mufasa, the poet, they will probably learn poetry very fast because that's the way they know how to make a living. So I teach people and empower them on sex because that is a life I lived. And I tell you things your parents will never tell you. Yeah.
Now we can take 2 questions.
I'm just wondering, so at 14 you're getting into prostitution.
Yeah.
Did you like finish school, or how far did you go with education?
I actually have, I cleared school Form 4. I didn't pass so well because I was pregnant by the time I was clearing Form 4, and I had my first abortion. So I got actually 2 marks to get an E. You know, I really flunked. But one thing I know is when God has his hand on you, it doesn't matter what you've been through or the mess you are in, because literally God carried me and ushered me into greatness. Like even the English I speak, I tell people it's because of God. I started reading because I got an E in English, written and verbal. I couldn't speak well. So what happened is I started watching news, CNN news, and I would see how they pronounce words. I would watch Sky News and just learn how they pronounce words. I started teaching myself things, like I taught myself how to drive. I taught myself how to cook. I went to theology. I'm now doing my degree in theology. So I started doing sociology. I started learning about psychology, just small things that make you may not have made it, but God has given me a second chance in life, so I make it better. And one thing, Ruth, I do is I live one day at a time. I live like there's no tomorrow. So I have the best of today. Yeah.
Thank you, Rahab. Can we take another question, please? Yes.
My name is Mike Rahab, and you have said that you have a class that you teach beyond academics. My question to you is that I have heard of this, the government is giving out condoms and pills to school. What's your take? What can you say about it? Are you supporting that motion, or are you supporting that idea of government giving condoms and pills?
Tough one. I saw that coming. Okay. I really tried to avoid that question, but I guess this is the right forum to answer it. When someone gets into an accident, Michael, the first thing that people do when you crash with a car or whatever crash it is you're given first aid. So the lady who came up with that motion, what she was trying to do was, I really commend her because she was trying to give people first aid, because sex is everywhere. We are having young people getting pregnant left, right, and center, underage children getting raped. But I think it is beyond giving out condoms and giving out pills. I think we need to go to the root problem and teach people about sex. Boys are not understanding why they're getting hard when they wake up in the morning, and the big brothers are not willing to tell them. So if you don't teach these children about that their body evolves when they're growing up in teenagehood, then there'll be no one. Giving them condoms won't help. Giving them condoms actually brings out a nation full of people having sex, like you're really legalizing people to have sex at whatever age. I think we need to go to the root problem, teach people, teach our siblings, teach our brothers, teach the community members about sex openly, have forums where the old are teaching us, because there's a generational gap. I believe during my grandfather's time, he used to tell me they used to be taught about sex. We don't have that baton passed. And that is what I'm trying to do right now with Beyond Academia. We tell them, even before they get circumcised, we teach them these things. We teach them these things. We teach them, just because you're circumcised does not make you a man. You know, what I mean is, just because you got a card doesn't give you a guarantee, doesn't make you a father because you're circumcised. There is more to a man than the circumcision. There is more to a woman than the breast. There is more to a woman than a beautiful figure. Mm-hmm. You understand? And that is what we're trying to teach them. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fatuma's Voice. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Fatuma's Voice, Twitter, @Fatuma's Voice. You can go to our website, www.fatumasvoice.org, or you can join the conversation on Twitter, #Fatuma's Voice. Thank you so much.
So see you next time, and before that, we leave you to some nice sweet music from Ellie.
This is a song about a beautiful African woman, much like the ladies in the house today are, much like Fatuma is herself, so feel free to join in. It's an easy song.
Yeye ni malaika, mtoto wa Kiafrika. Yeye ni malaika, mtoto wa Kiafrika. Sijawahi kuona msichana mrembo kama Sointa.
Sointa, Sointa.
Mwenye sura ya Mkikuyu na figa ya Mjaluo, tekeza Muluhya.
Sointa, Sointa.
Tabasamu la kikale na tabia za Kitaita, kweli Sointa.
Sointa, Sointa.
Akitembea na maringo utadhani ni Mukamba. Sointa,
Sointa, Sointa.
Msichana wa Kimasai, nikikuona na furahi, kweli nakudai.
Sointa, Sointa. Sointa we, Sointa, Sointa. Uko wapi we? Sointa, Sointa. Sointa we, Sointa, Sointa. Uko wapi we? Sointa, Sointa. Ya ukweli yasemwe leo, nimempata mikipepeo, natamani kumwona kesho. Fikira zangu umezijaza, nimeshinda nikikuwaza, kauwimbo ungeusikiza. Mwangalie akipita, sauti akiniita, na jina yaitwa Sointa. Urembo wa Kiafrika na macho za malaika, ukiniita nitaitika. Sointa we, Sointa, Sointa. Uko wapi we? Sointa, Sointa. Sointa we, Sointa, Sointa. Uko wapi we? Sointa, Sointa. Sointa we, Sointa, Sointa. Uko wapi we? Sointa, Sointa.
Ye ni malaika, mtoto wa Kiafrika. Ye ni malaika, mtoto wa Kiafrika. Oh, Sointa we,
Sointa, Sointa.
uko wapi we?
Sointa, Sointa.
Sointa we,
Sointa, Sointa.
uko wapi we?
Sointa, Sointa.
Thank you. You've been a lovely audience.